Hi everyone. Today markets decided to continue the really strong rally that we saw yesterday, pushing through these key levels that we talked about. The 599.64 level, that was the target for today if we were going to continue the rally. Clean break through that at the end of the session, clean break through the 200. Now we're pushing into those consolidation levels, but let's take a look at some of the medium term charts and see, does it make sense to push through there to new all-time highs, or is this the zone of supply? Do me a quick favor and like and subscribe and watch the video till the end to help out the channel, and let's get started. Looking at fear and greed, we stepped up to a 34, still in fear, still heading towards that neutral area as we've seen consistent steps up. You can see the timeline bottomed out here at a 22, extreme fear, and now we're trending higher. So far it looks good for a potential upswing, neutral on momentum, strength still not moving with it, continuing to be at a very, very low level there at a 0.4, just about as low as it goes here. We saw some in here at 0.65, but that was pretty much the bottom of market. Strength continuing to be terrible. Breadth also being very, very terrible. Extreme fear there. Put call ratio starting to push up a little bit. Regular fear not super high, but we'll see how much higher it can go. Volatility continuing to crater. Safe haven demand stepping into greed. First metric we've seen in greed, and then junk bonds sitting in regular fear. Moving over to seasonality, just want to mention that the rally has been in line with seasonality over the last 2 days. We talked about it in the weekend video, expected to see bullishness through the end of the year based on seasonality, and so far that has been coming true over the last 2 trading days. Obviously in the end of last week, early this week, we saw choppiness, a lot of downward price action there. But since then, we've seen pretty strong rallies, and this January effect and Santa Claus rally has been playing out. And supposedly that is supposed to last through the end of this year and early next year. For the economic calendar, 5-year note auction coming in nearly at 4.5, nearly in line with the 10-year as well. We'll take a look at that later. Obviously tomorrow, Merry Christmas. We're going to be off for the Christmas holiday, and then for Thursday we get Fed balance sheet, initial jobless claims. Goods trade balance for the Friday, pretty much nothing else. Crude inventory is fairly interesting, but not much. Markets should be able to do whatever it is they are doing on a technical basis. Moving over to max pain for the Friday, 601 is the current price, max pain 597, so it is a little bit negative from current price. We've overthrown those max pain numbers. And you can see for the next couple trading days, a little bit of bearishness here going into the end of the week. Pretty bearish the day after Christmas here at 1.7. Interesting. Don't think we saw that on the previous read, so this has gone a little bit negative here coming off of the really strong rally we saw today. And then if we do get that max pain finish for the Thursday, slight jump, about 1% rally from there. We'll see how much this matters. Markets continue to look very, very strong, and that is obviously the most important. Price action is always king. Moving over to the charts, looking at the S&Ps, you can see really strong rally again, 1.13% off of a 0.6 yesterday. On the price action, very, very strong. At this point, this is starting to look like this movement that we saw here, where we saw a pretty substantial dip, overthrew some levels, really strong movement out of that low. And we're kind of in here. If we do get the kind of continuation move that we saw here, that would be about another 5% potentially. Let's go ahead and start to extend out some of these trend lines, see if we can get some upper limits. We broke through everything here today. If we get the continuation up, that's about 2.5% to the upper trend line. And then if that breaks, there is another level up here. It's about 5.8%. I don't know if we're going to get that high. The concern, of course, is the RSI. We're getting very close to the SMA. We're going to touch that probably in the next trading day, and then we're going to see, does it touch there and break down, or is it going to cut right through there and continue higher just like we saw here? So rallying up to there, waiting to see what happens. The concern is that we get something like this, right? So we get very, very close to the trend, and then we get a clean rejection to a lower low. And you can see right here that rejection to the lower low was at the 21 EMA. Big down candle was the next candle, 1.5%. And then you saw 1.86, and then another move down, huge gap, ended up negative about 3%. So that's the concern. We're very close to that potential touch on the RSI. The difference in structure, though, is that we did break through the 21 EMA. We're headed back into this consolidation high here. We've almost round tripped the move. Sometimes when you get these kind of round trips, that's the top of the move. So that's your consolidation high here. We're touching the lows of that consolidation already. And then looking at the levels here on the hourly and the daily, you can see broke through that 144 like we talked about yesterday, and the 200 closed above it, closed above all the levels here. 603.25 is your next one. Tried to rally a little bit after hours. You can see the volume was on the last candle, which was a very bullish candle. Waiting to see what happens as we get into that 603 area. You can see that was really the true consolidation low from these couple of days of trading in there. So we'll see. Interesting. Does it touch that and reject? or does it push through there into the 607.81 area? Then looking at the Tasty charts here for the SPY, you can see we pushed clean through that 144 here on the hourly, right to that upper band. That was the price target for the short term, 598.60. Pushed clean through there, way over through those levels. Definitely a little bit concerning. Probably going to see some sideways consolidation, pull back in time. And then looking at that 4-hour chart here, you can see we got right to that upper ATR. Again, pull back in time makes sense. We're right at that low of this consolidation range here. Upper band was at 601.71. This will continue to ride a little bit to the upside, giving you just a smidgen of room. We'll see. Did see some volume come through on that. Relative volume, ATR trailing stop right now, 590.67. The concern is that we've hit this major key resistance here with the low of the consolidation in the ATR band, but until we see major resistance, so far this looks okay. Moving over to the NASDAQ, interesting here, 1.36%, very, very strong, gapped up and rallied, momentum stepping to bullish. We saw the step yesterday, expected some movement here to the upside, but this was a little stronger than I would have guessed. Pushed through all those levels that we talked about yesterday and continued to rally here. And now you've left this gap between the Monday and Tuesday sessions, so does that get filled somewhere in the near future, potentially? And then, of course, we still have that 5 November gap that's still sitting down here at 491.30, somewhere in there. So a couple of levels to be concerned about. And then we have this structure that I'm watching. This isn't a real structure yet. You kind of have two touches here at the low, waiting to see if this matters here, or is it going to push into this area up here around the 544 area? That would be interesting over the next couple trading days or so. Either way, we got the big move down. We've retraced most of that move already more aggressively than I would have expected. And then you can see it here on the hourly chart. You can see we did gap up in the pre-market, continued to rally, getting very close to that 530 level, getting very close to this downtrend line. Pushed through all these levels in here like we talked about. This was going to be the zone of resistance, strong candles through that area right to the next zone. Now you push through this trend line here and looking to see if this upper trend line matters or not, or if we push straight through to that 533.17 area. Not a ton of volume, continues to look very bullish. Then moving over to the NASDAQ here on the Tasty charts, again, through the 144, pushed the ATR band, overthrew it a little bit, very, very strong, continuing to look very bullish. Pull back in time makes sense, just like we saw on the SPY charts. And then looking at the 4-hour, you can see that upper band right now sitting at 507.36. We'll see if we get to that. I'm guessing that we will over the next couple trading days. Still very bullish, very strong movement on the ATR trailing stop. Right now that's at 519.84, so about $10 below current price. 144 EMA sitting in there as well. Way above all the EMAs and SMAs, very strong here on the 4-hour. But again, top ATR band acting as resistance. We'll see what happens when we touch that in the next trading day. My expectation is that we'll see something like this. Strong candle up, hit the ATR band, and then you get kind of sideways consolidation, maybe slight pullback. And then the question becomes, do you see a major pullback like this, or is it more of a slight pullback here, continuation to that band again? Moving over to the Russell and the Dow and the Russell both continue to be really strong laggards here, 0.89 and 0.73. Momentum stepping to bullish, probably going to pull back to that 9 EMA at least, 226.74. Then you have the trend resistance up here continuing to be interesting. We'll see if it does get into that zone here, 229, 55 EMA, 229.36. And then you got the 21 all the way up there at 234.21. So continuing to be a big laggard off of that 144 EMA on the daily, and then the Dow getting very close to that 55 EMA and the level there, 432.78. If it breaks out, expect to move higher into that 441 area. If it rejects from here, back to that 426.20 area. Momentum still pushing to bullish, same thesis here on the RSI. Do we hit the SMA and reject, or does it push through there into these next levels? That's going to be interesting. So right now, everything still looks relatively bullish. And just to give you those levels here for the Russell, the 221.49 level was tested and then rallied. 226 is the next level, and then right in line with those others, 229.18. Moving over to the Mag 7, we did get a big breakthrough here, gapped right to that trend line at the next level and then rallied through all of these. So your next trend resistance is going to be 434. So if the Mag 7 continues this rally, that would push you about another 3%. And that is the expectation at this point with the breakout above all of these levels. Looking for another 3% on this, and the NASDAQ should go with that generally. And then flowing through some of these individual stocks fairly quickly, you can see Apple just continues to be a monster. 1.11% continues to go straight up over the last couple days. We've had basically 2 down days, and those were very slight. Another strong push here, closed on the high. Momentum bullish, RSI bullish, volume bullish, RSI super strong above the SMA, but continues to go. And then you got Microsoft coming off of this trend line in here, touched it back on Friday, almost touched it again here Monday, holding this area back above 21, back above VWAP. Momentum hasn't gone with it yet. Interesting. Waiting to see if that gets the flip over the next trading day or two, and then looking for that 440.72 level. Want to see if it breaks through there, push to the 9 at 443.13, and then you have major trend resistance here, 445.71. You can see this was what we're watching, waiting to see if this becomes a thing or not. We did overthrow it a little bit. Maybe we need to change it here, but you can see price did respect it. Breakthrough, retest, held the level, continuation here, and then push back through it. So for right now, I'm going to leave it, looking to see if we get a touch here over the next day or two once this momentum starts to break to the upside, which I guess that it will after today's trading. Moving over to Tesla and NVIDIA. Tesla decided to be a rocket ship today. Again, 8.22%, massive move after the wick rejection here on the Monday. Gapped up through wicks, filled the gap, gapped higher here today. Big rallies, closed on the high, probably headed back to the 500 level. Very strong there. And then looking at NVIDIA tested the level, hit the price target, 140.76, overthrew it pretty substantially. Didn't quite fill the gap back here. The close there was 142.44, and the high today was 141.90, so we didn't quite get that gap fill. But we touched the level, we did reject. We'll see if this is going to be an initial test or if it's going to continue through here. Momentum is bullish, RSI is bullish, so based on that, you would expect this to continue. And then the next level would be that 144.42 level. Moving over to Amazon and Google, both of these were strong as well, 1.68 and 0.84. Still hitting this trend line, still cannot quite get above that on the push. Momentum not really going with it. RSI not really going with it here on Alphabet. So this one doesn't look as good. Amazon continues to look good with the gap and go 1.68%. This is probably headed back to all-time highs around that 232.95 area. Moving over to staples and discretionary. Staples holding that 78.88 level, bouncing there, 0.66 to the upside, broke this trend. Right now, 79.90 is going to be the next level. Staples showing some bullishness, looks good. We said it looked bullish yesterday with the big wick rejection, held the level again, pushed through, so everything looks good. And then looking at discretionary is 2.32%, getting carried by Tesla, step to bullish. On the momentum and then RSI, you have that same thesis. Are we going to hit the SMA and reject, or is it going to push through there? We've seen it like this before where you come down, touch the level, reject, ended up holding and pushing through. So that's the concern. We'll see if we get the continuation here over the next trading day or two. Trend resistance for me, 238.88. Moving over to utilities and oil and gas. We haven't talked about these in a while, and I really wanted to highlight here that you've seen some of these underperforming sectors start to gain a little bit of strength. So have a base here at the 75.47 level, couple of tests below, got back above it here Monday, held the continuation to the 9 here today, and looks pretty good. You got a solid base, consolidation, pushing up to this level here. As long as it goes, should be solid. We've seen it before, consolidation, push, retest, continuation here. Looks great. And then looking at oil and gas, this was a pretty substantial breakdown. We got all the way to the lows that we saw in September, touched those areas that was a strong base before, pushed all the way up to the 142 area. Similarly now on oil and gas, touched that zone, 3 bull candles in a row, momentum swinging to bullish, probably going to take a position here soon. Clean break above the 127.99 level, should have bought that breakout here. Expecting this to push into the 135 area. Oil and gas looking like it's ready to show some potential here over the next couple trading days. Moving over to breadth. I haven't been able to cover breadth on the day of just because of my current schedule, but looking at yesterday's breadth here for the Monday, you can see 20-day breadth starting to gain some momentum here, pushing to the bull side. So we're getting a confirmation of some bullish breadth coming through. 50-day not moving lower, momentum on that continuing higher, very oversold. So looks like we're going to get a short-term rally at least. Then we'll be looking to see if we get the lower high and then continuation lower, and this is just going to be a bit of a relief rally, or is this going to be something more substantial? Either way, for the short term, it looks a little bit bullish. Moving over to bond yields just for a moment, you can see 2-year and the 10-year continuing to hover kind of in the same region here. So 2-year in the same area it was mid-November, right at the 200, holding in this 4.25, 4.33 area. And then looking at the 10-year, it did break out here on the Monday. We're holding above it here, 4.58, my level 4.55. The fact that this really didn't move higher here today is probably what gave equities a continuation here. And then looking at momentum, step to bearish momentum off of today's candles. So if we start to see this pull back here over the next couple of days to potentially weeks, that would absolutely be a strong catalyst for markets in my opinion. So right now, 10-year looking like it's topping out, at least in the short term. Then we'll see if it holds the higher low, maybe double bottom, something like that in here, maybe 4.1, 4.2, somewhere in this zone, and then potentially push higher or not. But for right now, I think this is probably going to pull back at least a little. Moving over to the dollar continues to be really choppy here. Did throw a wick to a new relative high above yesterday's high. It was positive on the day, 0.11, but momentum basically flat. RSI continues to trend up above the SMA. You can see pushed above the trend here, tested the level, filled the gap, continuation. So again, dollar continuing to look strong, pushing through that trend, even if the momentum is quite slow. And it is a little bit interesting to see the dollar going up just slightly with equities also going up here today. Moving over to bonds. Bonds caught a little bit of a bounce, 0.25% here on JNK after touching that critical level 94.82. Pushed through this short-term resistance here. Talked about it being multiple tops. I like the 95.61 level a little bit better, but we're through this one here. Momentum swinging to bullish, again looking for that same setup retest of the RSI. And then either way, JNK did gap down, ended up falling through to that 87 level. That was the low here. Overthrew the low, caught a bounce, stayed positive on the day, 0.42. I've been buying some bonds in here in some of my other accounts, looking to buy some here around the 1st as well. I do like this, step to bullish on momentum, probably going to get a bit of a swing here, 89 first target, next one would be that 92.82 level. I think we're probably going to catch a relief rally at least. You still have a low, lower low, so you do have to factor that in, but it's very extended, super low on the RSI, momentum stepping to bullish. Should be a first step here in a potential swing to the upside. Like I said, 89, I like that in there, 21 EMA, 91.50, somewhere in there. And then moving over here to the VIX, you can see clean breakdown through all of these levels, pushing back into the 13.5 area. Momentum breaking down, RSI breaking down, pushing into this zone here means we should see a little bit of consolidation before we get any spikes up. Typically, big moves up, you get a move into this area, consolidation. Once you've round tripped the move, I'm expecting a little bit of calmness, at least for the next couple trading days. Moving over to my accounts, I ended up putting my normal positions back on, covered calls here for the Thursday and Friday sessions, 223 for the IWM. That's in a good position here. Same on the Qs. I did put this on earlier and then had to roll it out to 530 for 2 trading days from now for $2.16. Put it on kind of late in the session. You can see buy price about 50 cents below current price. Honestly, I was probably too bearish in these last 2 trading days. I said I thought we were going to see the retracement, but I didn't expect it to be this strong. Again, you have to trade the price action that you have, so that was a little bit annoying. Ended up down a little bit on the day, but I think we're in good position for the Thursday, Friday. We'll see how it plays out from here. Short-term bullish at least. Medium term, still not sure. Let me know down in the comment section what you thought of the price action today. What do you think as we start to enter those consolidation zones and those upper limits on the ATR bands? Is that going to be a topping formation, or is this a true continuation to the upside? Let me know. Otherwise, like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video. Make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.